Welcome to episode 2 of a little series that I've titled Beyond Football. Basically, in this series, I'm going to chat to and find out some of the stories from what I feel are the unsung heroes of Australian football. Last time out, I chatted to a couple of referees, finding out just what it takes to become a referee, as well as the stories good and bad about being a referee. That one's in the description if you're interested. But for today's video, we are focusing on goalkeepers, more specifically goalkeeping coaches. So we're going to find out just what it takes to become a goalkeeper coach and all the little things in between. So firstly, the goalkeeper coaches are going to introduce themselves and then we're going to get stuck into the questions.
Yeah, so my name is Davide Del Giovine. I'm the first grade goalkeeping coach at Western Sydney Wanderers for the A-League.
John Gorza, former goalkeeper coach of the Matildas and many national teams over the last 15 years. I'm also involved with coaching at a grassroots level with my academy and have done that for about 20 years. So that's my football background. For a while, I also have a separate business that I run as well. So a few hats I have on at any one stage.
So just how long have you been a goalkeeper coach for?
I started back home in Italy when I was 32 years old, so fair bit, nearly 14 years now. Obviously, been in Australia since 2010, so 11 years here in Australia now.
Probably about 25 years. It's seriously. Before that, I was tinkering around when I was still playing, helping at the club and doing those sorts of things, but really got serious about 25 years ago and thought this is what I really enjoy doing. And it's been quite a journey since then.
And I guess everybody's story is different. So for you, how did you first get involved in becoming a goalkeeper coach? Where did that journey start?
I guess the love for the role, that was probably one of the biggest reason why I started since young to coaching young keepers. The passion, the love that I have for this role. That's probably one of the reason, the biggest reason.
I guess it was more end of career, try and stay in the game, still be involved. So my motivation at the time was growing up in a regional Queensland country area, not having access to goalkeeper coaches when I was playing, and then coming to the realization, how important it is for anyone to reach their potential. Really got me on the path of just young kids to try and give them an opportunity that I never had when I was playing. So that's what got me started. And that was quite some time ago.
Now, looking back to your first session as a goalkeeper coach, do you remember it at all? And if so, how do you think you went during that session?
I remember, but definitely I didn't have the knowledge to probably review and going back the same way I will do it now. That's for sure.
I actually do. I was playing senior football up in Bundaberg in my would have been my mid 30s, kind of. Early mid 30s. And I had a mum come and see me one day about her son, and said, "Look, he's off to state titles in Canberra, I think, made the Queensland side. He's 15. Would you mind doing a little bit of work with him?" And I thought, yeah, okay, no problems. So I did a few sessions with this young lad who was surprisingly was very, very good. And anyway, his name was Clint Bolton. So that was my first session with Clint. And at the time, I didn't know too much about goalkeeper coaching. It was just doing what I normally do in a training session. But he impressed me so much that I asked our senior coach to see if we could give him a run in the senior side, because he was quite a big lad. And so Clint made his senior debut in a game. I think we were a couple of nil up, and I just said to the coach, bring him on, and he came on and played, I think it might have been 25, 30 minutes before he went away. So it was a nice kind of start to my coaching career, even though I think in total I did 4 sessions with Clinton. I've never claimed any kind of kudos for actually helping him, but it was interesting at the time.
So for you, what sort of routine and preparation goes into, your average match day?
Many hours of preparation, trying to give as much as we can to our goalkeepers to make sure they're ready. And after, obviously, they are the main person that go and play the game.
Depends on where we are and which team it is. That sort of varies from team to team. I suppose a lot of the work's done way before match day. Match day is all about just being available for the keepers if they need you, in terms of having a chat, last minute details on the pitch conditions perhaps, or some last minute information regarding things that we've spoken to them about. But generally it's the time to leave the keepers or keepers alone. All the work's been done, in the lead up to the match. And obviously we have a set routine for every keeper. They're all slightly different, in terms of what they need and what they want. So that's there's no need to worry about that in terms of communication with them. It's just we get out there, get the warm up done, a few final comments if needed, and then it's straight into the game and the game plan, depending on how we want to play in terms of the keepers input into the game plan.
Now, goalkeepers are quite a unique position to say the least. Except for rare circumstances, of course, usually one player will only play, and that's often the case for like a whole tournament or a whole season. So how do you keep a goalkeeper motivated who's maybe a number 2 or even a number 3 goalkeeper, knowing that they probably won't play?
Look, I wouldn't call they number 2, number 3. They're part of the group of the goalkeepers union, I would call it. At the club, we're lucky enough to have so many great goalkeepers, starting from Daniel Margush, obviously, but also a lot of young ones in academy. They all have a little taste of training with the first grade every now and then. But obviously, the main 2 in the first grade, it's hard, but that's our job, to push in them, because they know that even in the warm-up, something can happen. The goalkeeper the day before, or the coach will make a decision for any reason. So they all know that they need to be on their toes.
Look, I guess it's different in a national team environment to a club environment, where it's the same, I guess, in both scenarios, in that you're going to have players that are playing and those that aren't, and how you manage that and keep everyone motivated to perform, particularly the number 2 and number 3 who potentially know they're not going to play. But how do you keep them engaged, keep them working, keep them being a team player, which can be difficult at times, particularly in a national team environment where, where it's very, the position isn't clear and there's competition, and there's going to be disappointed players that, maybe think they should be selected and aren't. So I guess it's about, keeping close to the players, building good relationships, ensuring that when they're in the team environment, they're actually a team player, because it's very easy for one player when you're in a tournament to bring down everyone around them, so it's that rotten apple in the barrel kind of scenario. So, but generally the staff are pretty aware of, what can happen, and we make sure that, everyone's working towards the same goal, and we kind of emphasize on, whether you're playing or not, you're a vital member of the team and you support your teammates, which can be difficult at times when you're not playing, of course.
And just why do you love being a goalkeeper coach?
Coaching special people. Like you said before, they are the most underestimated people that go on the field. Okay, where I think they are the best athlete on the field, the most complete athlete on the field, and given to them all the knowledge, all the preparation, and see when they step into the field, watching them perform. Someone like Daniel last year, he had an amazing season, and this year he came back in pre-season and he looks 3 times better already. There's something that makes you proud and happy to work hard like we do.
For me, I never had a goalkeeping coach until I was 25. And it was like a massive kind of realization that I could never reach my potential, no matter how good I was. And I played, not having had a coach and reaching a certain level, I still don't know whether I could have gone higher. I'm sure I would have if I'd had a goalkeeping coach. How high, I don't know. So my motivation has always been to help kids reach their potential, whatever that might be. It might be local NPL, it might be playing for Australia. But if you reach your potential, at least you've given it everything you can. So that's why I enjoy it, because you work on something with a 10-year-old on a Wednesday, and then you go and see them implement or try and implement that in a game. Is really satisfying, just as much as working with a national team player and going to an Olympics and see them doing well. It's the same kind of thing. You really get a buzz out of it, as close to as you can, to when you used to play yourself. So because that's very difficult to replicate, but this is probably just as good now. I found it really rewarding.
Now on to penalties. We've all seen the post on social media, of like Jordan Pickford with his water bottle that has the printout of where the strikers usually take their shots. And I've heard stories about, just how much effort goes into researching and training and trying to predict just where a striker will take their shot. So, just how much research and effort does actually go into penalties?
Nowadays, we got so much technology, so much video analysis, and you try, as I said before, give it to the goalkeeper as much as it can. But at the end of the day, he's the one that step on the field. He's the one that face the striker. We were lucky, Daniel, last year. We have a great penalty against Melbourne. And this year, he promised to say one every second. That was my promise. But yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot trying to read any body language, any movement, any statistic. But to be fair, everything can go out of the window the moment the player step on the ball. It might change his mind.
A major tournament like an Olympics or a World Cup, if you look at the statistics on how many in the knockout stages, how many of those games go to a penalty shootout. And I can't tell you with the Olympics, but there was quite a few. So when it comes to the preparation, we do so much on the tactical stuff with the team and how we're going to play and changing tactics during the game and all those sorts of things. So it just makes sense that, potentially it could come down to a penalty shootout. So we have, a number of analysts that work on getting a lot of information to the technical staff, including all the opposition penalty takers. So for the Olympics, we had all our opposition penalty takers had video evidence of every player in those teams going back 4 and 5 years. So that information is given to me. Our analysts also then, give us graphics on where each penalty taker, takes their spot, in what games they're in, whether they're a league game, an international Champions League game. And then we also look at what moments of the game that happens, the penalties. So if they're 3-0 up and they take a penalty, where do they go? If they're 1-0 down in a World Cup qualifier or a major tournament, where do they go? And then we start to look at trends. So they're the sort of things that I look at. The information is given to me. I look at all those things and I make a decision on where the goalkeeper should go. So we take there's a couple of different ways of doing it. We leave it up to the keeper, but what we want to do is for the keeper just to focus on the game and go out there and do their thing. So we say, for this player, this is where you're going, left side low. And then that's what they do. And then if they go the other way, well, so be it. But that's basically the process. A lot of man hours goes into that to get it to that one decision, which we don't overload the goalkeepers with, if that makes sense.
Do you find that there's much difference at all between an Australian goalkeeper and a foreign goalkeeper? Do you need to take a different sort of approach at all when coaching an Aussie goalkeeper to a foreign goalkeeper, or coaching in Australia to overseas, or not really?
Yes, probably that was my biggest challenge when I came across, the two different mentalities. In Italy, there's a lot of technical knowledge since young age for goalkeepers, things that maybe we lack a little bit in here. So at the beginning, I was a little bit not struggle, but trying to understand why there was so much lack on, basic on goalkeepers. But after you understand, they got some very good talent. They got goalkeepers, and we can put both together. That was probably the biggest challenge, and that's probably what helped me the most to become a better goalkeeping coach.
And in your opinion, just what is the hardest thing to teach a goalkeeper?
Look, it's such a technically demanding position. I suppose if you're working with young kids, you're working on everything from, having good feet, being able to, do all the goalkeeping skills, but still be as good as a field player with your feet. So, there's so much that you have to work on technically. I suppose the biggest thing is when you get to a certain level, your goalkeepers are all going to be technically pretty solid. It then comes down to the mentality, who's brave, who's prepared to take risks, who backs themselves, who are confident. You kind of can't be mentally frail in that position, because it's going to be very difficult for you to play at any kind of high level where there's obviously massive pressure. So I think it's managing all those things together, and it's not one thing that's more important than the other. It's a combination of all of them. And again, depending on their age, their experience, and where they're at in their career, I guess the biggest thing is identifying where the weaknesses are and how you can help them, improve those areas, I guess. And they all have different weaknesses and different strengths. There's no one that's a perfect mold.
And another way that goalkeepers are quite unique to outfield players is just how long their careers can last. It's not really unusual to see a goalkeeper's career last into their early and even mid-40s. So do you have a personal preference of coaching, one of these more experienced goalkeepers that's, older and has the experience, or a young goalkeeper just coming through?
It's just different. I don't think it's easier or it's harder. 2 years ago, we had Daniel Lopa, which was an excellent senior goalkeeper. Last year, we had Daniel Young, goalkeeper. I think it's just different. You need to approach them in a little different way at times, and they will both react the same way.
Challenging both ways. So I don't think one's easier than the other. I think working obviously with professional players is easy in that they're at a high level, and you're not tweaking too much in terms of technique. When I'm working with younger players, I'm developing. So I'm working on developing their technique and all those sorts of things. So you're actually helping them improve all those areas. When you're working with the internationals, you're basically preparing them for a game. They're at that level already. It might be tweaking or just sharpening them up. It might be working on, if we're playing an opposition that their threats are crosses or through balls, we're prepping them for that in the training sessions. We're prepping them on how we want to build up or how we want to organise our defence. So they're sort of those sorts of things. So it's more tactical rather than technical, where the younger ones, it's obviously all about development. So different strategies, but can be just as difficult.
And looking back on your career as a goalkeeper coach so far, just what's been the highlight? What's been that moment of your career that you are most proud of?
Yeah, I probably watched Daniel play every single minute of the season last year. That probably was one of the biggest. But even in saying that, during the last few years, we had a few young goalkeepers coming out that they're doing well. But definitely, seeing Margus perform the way he did last year, and being the only player that played every minute for us, probably the biggest. Probably it's the most proud moment is watching my daughter coming
Yeah.
and watching the games and taking photo on the warm up. She can't wait to come to watch the games every week. I must say that's probably the thing that make me more proud, because she loves watching our goalkeepers' performance on TV when we play away or at home. And as I said, watching her smile at the end of the matches, knowing that she's watching from a grandstand, that's something special.
I think, I've worked with every men's and women's national team over the last 15 years, except the Socceroos. I've worked with all the junior women's teams, all the men's teams, the Olyroos, the whole lot. So I worked with some very, very talented, exceptional keepers over many years. That's been very rewarding, just being able to be in that environment and to see a lot of those young goalkeepers kick on. But probably for me, it's been, my development of younger players who have actually been able to reach those things, because I've actually had a hands-on, day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, influence and input in their development. So that's probably been my proudest, achievement, is to have, I think, we're up to 7 goalkeepers now that have represented Australia that have come through our academy system. So I wouldn't say one's more than the other, but they've both been very rewarding.
Thank you so much to both the goalkeeper coaches for sharing some of their incredible stories and, teaching a little bit of the behind the scenes of just what goes into becoming a goalkeeper coach, what goes into training some of these young goalkeepers into becoming the best they can be. And of course, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. This video is sponsored by Arrow Sport. Go to the link in the description and the friendly team at Arrow Sport will help you create your own football dream jersey. Whether it's starting from scratch or using one of their many templates on their website, creating a jersey with Arrow Sports is easy and prices start from just $50. Go to www.arrowsport.com.au and make your football kit dreams become a reality.